Feeling ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. I'll let you lead the way if you don't mind. Thank you, love.
Nothing I see means anything. The reason that this is so is that I see nothing, and nothing has no meaning. It is necessary that I recognize this, that I may learn to see. What I think I see now is taking the place of vision. What I think I see now is taking the place of vision. I must let it go by realizing it has no meaning, so that vision may take its place. I have given what I see all the meaning it has for me. I have judged everything I look upon, and it is this and only this I see. This is not vision. It is merely an illusion of reality because my judgments have been made quite apart from reality. I am willing to recognize the lack of validity in my judgments because I want to see. My judgments have hurt me, and I do not want to see according to them. I do not understand anything I see. How could I understand what I see when I miss? What I see is the projection of my own errors of thought. I do not understand what I see because it is not understandable. There is no sense. There's no sense in trying to understand it. There is every reason to let it go. And room for what can be seen and understood and loved. I can exchange what I see now for this merely to do so. I can exchange what I see now for this merely by being willing to do so. Is not this a better choice than the one I made before? These thoughts do not mean anything. The thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything because I'm trying to think without God. What I call my thoughts are not my real thoughts. My real thoughts are the thoughts I think with God. I am not aware of them because I have made my thoughts to take their place. I am not aware of them because I made my thoughts to take their place. I am willing to recognize that my thoughts do not mean anything until I let them go. I choose to have them be replaced by what they were intended to replace. My thoughts are meaningless, but all creation lies in the thoughts I think with God.
Well done. I am never upset for the reason I think. I am never upset for the reason I think because I am constantly trying to justify my thoughts. I am constantly trying to make them true. I make all things my enemies so that my anger is justified and my attacks are warranted. I have not realized how much I have misused everything I see by assigning this role to it. I have done this to defend a thought system that has hurt me and that I no longer want. I am willing to let it go. Oh, I am upset because I see what is not there. Reality is never frightening. It is impossible that it could upset me. Reality brings only perfect peace. When I am upset, it is always because I have replaced reality with illusions I made up. The illusions are upsetting because I have given them reality and thus regard reality as an illusion. Nothing in God's creation is affected in any way by this confusion of mind. I am always upset by nothing. I see only the past. As I look about, I condemn the world I look upon. I call this seeing. I hold the past against everyone and everything, making them my enemies. I hold the past against everyone and everything, making them my enemies. When I have forgiven myself, wow, and remembered who I am, I will bless everyone and everything I see. There will be no past, and therefore no enemies. And I will look with love on all that I failed to see before. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see only my own thoughts, and my mind is preoccupied with the past. What then can I see as it is? Let me remember that I look on the past to prevent the present from dawning on my mind. Let me understand that I am trying to use time against God. Let me learn to give the past away, realizing that in so doing, I am giving up nothing. Good news.
All right. I see nothing as it is now. I see nothing as it is now. If I see nothing as it is now, it can truly be said that I see nothing. I can see only what is now. The choice is not whether to see the past or the present. The choice is merely whether to see or not. I have chosen to see. What I have chosen to see has cost me vision. Now I would choose again that I may see. Now I would choose again that I may see. My thoughts do not mean anything. I have no private thoughts. Yet it is only private thoughts of which I am aware. What can these thoughts mean? They do not exist. Yet my mind is part of creation and part of its creator. Would I not rather join the thinking of the universe than to obscure all that is really mine with my pitiful and meaningless private thoughts? My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Since the thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything, the world that pictures them can have no meaning. Since the thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything, the world that pictures them can have no meaning. What is producing this world is insane, and so reality is not insane, and I have real thoughts as well as insane ones. I can therefore see a real world if I look to my real thoughts as my guide for seeing. I am upset because I see a meaningless world. I am upset because I see a meaningless world. Insane thoughts are upsetting. They produce a world in which there is no order anywhere. Only chaos rules a world that represents chaotic thinking, and chaos has no laws.
Mm.
I cannot live in peace in such a world. I am grateful that this world is not real and that I need not see it at all unless I choose to value it. And I do not choose to value what is totally insane and has no meaning. I'm going to keep going.
I wish you would. Thank you. Just stop whenever you feel to.
A meaningless world engenders fear. The totally insane engenders fear because it is completely undependable and offers no grounds for trust. Nothing in madness is dependable. It holds out no safety and no hope. But such a world is not real. I have given it enough reality and have suffered from my belief in it. Withdraw this belief and place my trust in reality. In choosing this, I will escape all the effects of the world of fear because I am acknowledging that it does not exist. God did not create a meaningless world.
Of course not.
How can a meaningless world exist if God did not create it? He is the source of all meaning, and everything that is real is in his mind. It is in my mind too, because he created it with me. Why should I continue to suffer from the effects of my own insane thoughts when the perfection of creation is my home? Why should I continue to suffer from the effects of my own insane thoughts when the perfection of creation is my home? Let me remember the power of my decision and recognize where I really abide. You can read if you want.
My thoughts are images that I have made. Whatever I see reflects my thoughts. It is my thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am. The fact that I see a world in which there is suffering and loss and death shows me that I am seeing only the representation of my insane thoughts and am not allowing my real thoughts to cast their beneficent light on what I see. Yet, God's way is sure. The images I have made cannot prevail against him because it is not my will that they do so. My will is his, and I will place no other gods before him. I have no neutral thoughts. Neutral thoughts are impossible because all thoughts have power. They will either make a false world or lead me to the real one. But thoughts cannot be without effects. As the world I see arises from my thinking errors, so will the real world rise before my eyes as I let my errors be corrected. My thoughts cannot be neither true nor false. They must be one or the other. What I see shows me which they are. I see no neutral things. What I see witnesses to what I think. If I did not think, I would not exist because life is thought. Let me look on the world I see as the representation of my own state of mind. I know that my state of mind can change, and so I also know the world I see can change as well. I'll just do this last one. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. If I have no private thoughts, I cannot see a private world. Even the mad idea of separation had to be shared before it could form the basis of the world I see. Yet, that sharing was a sharing of nothing. I can also call upon my real thoughts, which share everything with everyone. As my thoughts of separation call to the separation thoughts of others, so my real thoughts awaken the real thoughts in them. And the world my real thoughts show me will dawn on their sight as well as mine. Oh. Hey there.
Having fun, Anna?
Yeah, just going back and forth from laughing to crying.
Good. That's exactly what's meant to happen. That's good.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time swallowing too.
That's okay. That's perfect. Tina goes back and forth from crying, venomous.
I laugh a lot too.
Oh yeah, and that, yeah, laughing too.
Yeah, there's a couple of punches that get thrown up. You want to go, Anna? You want to take a shot?
Are we gonna keep reading?
Keep reading.
Okay.
Woohoo.
I am not alone in the effects of my thoughts. I am alone in nothing. Everything I think or say or do teaches all the universe. A son of God cannot think or speak or act in vain. He cannot be alone in anything. It is therefore in my power to change every mind along with mine, for mine is the power of God.
You've got a delay in your video audio.
Oh, does she?
Like, I can hear the words, but your mouth isn't moving. Bad Chinese movie.
Oh, it is. I hit my eyes with those. I didn't even notice.
I'm on my phone, so I don't know.
Now you're fine. She's fine to me.
Yeah, it looks right now.
Okay.
I am determined to see. I am determined to see. Recognizing the shared nature of my thoughts, I am determined to see. I would look upon the witnesses that show me the thinking of the world has been changed. I would behold the proof that what has been done through me has enabled love to replace fear, laughter to replace tears, and abundance to replace loss. I would look upon the real world and let it teach me that my will and the will of God are one.
Say it out loud. I will
My
look upon the world.
I would look upon the real world and let it teach me that my will and the will of God are one.
Say it again.
I would look upon the real world and let it teach me that my will and the will of God are one.
Did you hear yourself say that?
Yes.
Say no, I didn't. Say no. Speak it again.
I would look upon the real world and let it teach me that my will and the will of God are one.
Once more. Push it. There you go, right there. Now you yourself say it. You see how easily convinced you are that you hear something? You see how that happens? It's like, it's a good thing to see, actually. It's a bit of a piss off because you sort of think, well, God damn it, how am I ever going to really hear this? and you'll be sitting in course groups for the next 20 years telling yourself that you hear it, but not having any actual changes happen. You know, exactly. Put the gun to the head, pull the trigger. Boop. Never trust yourself, Anna. Okay? Never trust yourself. When somebody says, do you know, can you hear this? You always say no. Because where am I? I find myself still in the body.
Yeah.
Or I'm always, and only ever being presented with an opportunity to go deeper and further to more integrity of prayer and greater awareness of self. Right? But I have to realize just how full of shit I am. I have to realize how much of a liar. It's like Jesus says that every word that proceeds from the mouth of man is a lie. Therefore, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Any more than these is deception. Have ears, but don't hear. It's why you have to teach this again and again and again. You have to teach it to hear it. When you truly hear anything, truly, it changes you. Anything from this course, it changes you. Any line, it's like the last couple of exercises you and I have been together, right, done together, are listening and hearing exercises where you're repeating the idea again and again until it takes you to a place where you haven't heard it before. Okay, a new place, fresh place where you're engaging with not only the realization that your denial runs deep, but that no matter how advanced or how far you've come in the pursuit of your enlightenment through the purification of your mind using this course and these principles, you still can never trust yourself at all in the entirety of it. I'm always the liar. I'm always the one who's false. God is always true because God is truth, and that's it. As soon as I try to say I got this, or I know what it says, or I hear that, well, I'm a liar. I don't, because the only one thing to know is self. The only one thing that I need to know in all the universe is self, right? And this course is showing me again and again and again with my finger on my nose how much I actually don't want it, how much of myself I'm up against, you know, in my efforts.
Yeah.
And you get to see where it is that your own half-hearted hearing and your own half-hearted determination plays its part in the corruption and the sabotage of your efforts. Get it? It's like your prayers when you go to bed, right? Exactly. You know it. You get up off your knees at night from your prayers and you're like, nah, I didn't feel very honest with that. That was just lip service. You know it. But when you get up from your knees and you've offered a prayer that's really true, it's like you feel it. It's like, woo, that was a good prayer. That was damn good. I'm gonna pay special attention to listen for the answer to my prayer, or to be aware for it, because you put more integrity into it, more passion, more determination. And it takes that level of determination. When you read this book, it's like, I'm determined to see things differently. Right? No, you're not. That's just words you're saying because you're reading a book that tells you to say those words. That doesn't mean at all that you're determined to see things differently. It just means you're reading out aloud in a group. Right? Now, the place in you where you're reading out aloud in a group and the place where those words resonate at the deepest possible level for you at your experience is two whole different things. Right? What we're about is collapsing the time it takes from you realizing where it is here on this hand that you're reading the words in a group, and here experiencing the words within your being like you just did just then. Okay? And whatever whatever it does, it's like whether it makes you laugh or whether it makes you cry, it doesn't matter to me. But it's like, let's get real with it and have an experience one way or the other, so that we're not just sitting here reading words.
Yeah.
Because this is boot camp. This is boot camp. This is the place you come. You got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, that's right.
I got nothing else. I got nowhere else to go. Whiny little mama's boy. Nowhere else to go. Somebody look after me. You can see why there's only 3 of us in this room now, can't you? Hey, but you guys are the ones that telling me you really want this. Everybody else just sort of falls away.
Yeah. It's not easy, you know.
You're easy.
No, it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. That's why we have each other. It's like you're always looking at your falsity. You're always looking at where it is you're unloving and being judgmental against yourself. And, you know, it's like those are not nice things that anyone ever really wants to look at. We'd much rather paint a nice picture of ourselves as being, you know, look at me, I'm wearing the right clothes, I know the right people, I've got the right money, I've, you know, fitting in. Who the hell wants to do transformation? It's ruthless. It's harsh and rugged and, you know, it's a pain in the butt. But the quicker you get through it, the quicker you realize the basics and start to begin to apply them, the easier it gets and the less you worry about how easy it is or not. You just learn to become more aware of your own sense of inner peace and become more vigilant for things that tick you off.
Yeah.
It's like it's good because now you've got something you can do about it. But you realize how much crap is in the bottom of your backpack. You know, it's just like, I've been carrying all these rocks around, manipulating myself, playing mind games with myself, telling myself one thing when actually the other is true. You know, I tell myself, yep, I hear these words, but actually I don't. Not at a place where they're useful enough to affect a shift or a change in my consciousness. I hear them just enough so that I can continue to participate in my ideas of what I think spirituality is. And that's what the ego does. It'll keep all that hidden from you. The ego would love that you go to course groups or rehab groups again and again, and it loves that shit. Just as long as you don't make too much progress, you know. Because when you make progress, you're going to get to the point where you don't need rehab and you don't need course groups. And then what's after that? The ego can't tell you. You're on your own. There's no map. There's no instructions. You're free. That's the scariest thing that you'll ever hear out of my lips. You're free. If you think that's not scary, let me say it a few more times. You're free. Tina, you're free. Did you know that? Say no. Yeah, you got it. Yes, you got it. I don't know what that is. Now you can find out. Now you can be shown. Yeah. Say no. The whole thing's like a trip. No, I don't know anything. I don't understand anything because this is just a dream. There's nothing to understand and nothing to get. I'm free. Right? That's it. Now stay there. Don't examine it. Otherwise, you'll give up your freedom for examination. It's a place in the mind, really. Paradise is a place in the mind. It's somewhere you learn over and over and over to abide in, to stay in. Let me stay in this place where I'm free in my own mind without the need to examine it or conceptualize it. Let me learn to live from that place, to work from that place, to love and to give and to receive from that place without these interfering thoughts that tell me how it ought to look or shouldn't look. You know, you'll have never-ending amounts of influence that'll be tempting you in one form or another to drag you out of that peaceful place. I had somebody today going off at me, wrote me this big, oh, it wasn't today, it was like the other day, but wrote me this big long thing about Eckhart Tolle. And I wrote back to her initially on the page, and then I had to sort of break it down into smaller pieces about the here and the now. And she was like, how dare you second guess Eckhart Tolle and all this sort of stuff like that. And then when we got to the end, she's like, oh, that's exactly what Eckhart Tolle says. How anyone hears this, I don't know. I really don't know. You know, it's like it's like we're all saying the same thing coming around the mountain from a slightly different angle. You know, the amount of effort that it takes literally becomes your effort when you step up to teach this. You have to teach it to learn it. You got to teach it to learn it. You got to put it into practice. I remember when I came across Dean and Michelle, I made a decision that I needed to be able to extend the certainty of my mind somehow, whether through creative arts or poetry or whatever, music, didn't really matter, through a workplace commitment. And I thought, no, I'll put on a thing for suicide because suicide's big at the moment, you know, and popular way out. And I'll do a thing called Life in the Park. So I put on Life in the Park. I started putting ads in my Facebook page, and I went and sat in the park one day a week in the afternoon for an hour or two and see if anyone turns up. And there was my opportunity to teach what I needed to learn. And it's always that. I'm always teaching what I need to learn. And if you're aware of that, you'll find that even in just normal conversations with people, you'll actually be teaching because you're teaching all the time from what it is you believe that you are. If you're aware that you're teaching, you'll hear yourself teaching and you'll be like, holy crap, I just heard myself say something. Just like when you read that book just before. You know, you'll have a moment of hearing, like a little light bulb will go on and you'll be like, something just happened. You know? That's how this works. If you step into the arena of teaching it formally through the workbook and stuff, as a lot of people seem to do, you'll be holding yourself accountable to a very high-reaching kind of level of the offering of this teaching on a very high vibrational platform of it. You know, I think at the lowest frequency, I mean, I'm not talking about more or less in that sense, because all expressions of love are maximal, but at the lowest frequency, you could probably say that just a simple smile is the easiest for most people to affect in any given situation. But when you're actually stepping up, you know, and you're presenting this course or presenting yourself as an advocate of a curriculum that has the potential to change people's minds and ideas about themselves, a smile won't do that. It may give them a moment of relief, but it'll be covered over by the ego again. And Jesus says you need to have profound experience to forge lasting change. There's no point in just having changes when you're at a Zoom meeting like this and it's like, oh, I see that I'm not really hearing what I'm teaching here. I'm not hearing what I'm declaring on the deepest level possible for me, right? And you just witness that, Anna. There's a level that you can hear all of this at, which is much deeper than the level that you're allowing yourself to engage with it at now, right? So it's like a student who studies for an exam or a presentation that they have to make, right? Some students will just like, yeah, I'll read the material tonight and the exam's tomorrow. And some guys put in the effort and just go, boom, I've got to study this. I want to cross-reference it. And they really double down on how it is that they're doing their work. you know. So, and what you put into it, you get out of it. So when I tell you that you're always the liar in this, I mean, your ego is going to probably be offended a bit at that, but it's like, that's the truth. And recognizing that is actually an incredible tool for helping you to learn to read it properly and read it with a greater depth at a place where it can affect you and can offer you the ability for change, like proper change. Get it? Because that's what you want. No, that's right. Yes. No, I don't get it. Anyway, keep reading. Do the next one, Anna.
I am determined to see.
Good.
I am determined to see.
Good. That's where it's at, right there.
I am determined to see.
Thank you.
Recognizing the shared nature of my thoughts, I am determined to see.
There you go.
I would look upon the witnesses that show me the thinking of the world has been changed. I would behold the proof that what has been done through me has enabled love to replace fear, laughter to replace tears, and abundance to replace loss. I would look upon the real world and let it teach me that my will and the will of God are one.
Yeah, bullshit. Right.
I am determined to see things differently.
I will stand here and stamp my foot until God gives me what I want on my own terms. That's what I'm really saying. You're like a naughty kid that's been caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and now you have to write the lines on the blackboard 100 times. You know, I will not pinch cookies from the jar. And you read these words in the course, and it's like you read it with this kind of like, you know, what's that when you do something and you don't really want to do it? You're doing it out of what's the word for that? Sufferance or whatever. You're doing it because you got to do it and you got no other choice. You know, because you really want to do it.
What is that word?
If there was another choice other than this where you didn't have to do this that got you out of the same pickle, you'd be all for it, I guarantee it.
Probably.
I know. I would have. I just exhausted all the other choices. I didn't. Tried drugs, tried alcohol, tried relationships, tried you name it. None of it worked. Now I'm going to read these words. God damn it. And you think that they won't work too because none of your other attempts worked. Just remember,
Begrudgingly. Begrudgingly.
Begrudgingly. That's it. That's the word. Begrudgingly. You're up there on the board and you're counting the lines.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to write the last line. My teacher won't count that there's only 99. That's it. Begrudgingly. You did that well, Tina. Begrudgingly could be a package for you.
I suspect it is. I don't know them.
All right, go on, Anna. Read again. Let's have it. We're laughing at ourselves.
I am determined to see things differently. What I see now are but the signs of disease, disaster, and death. This cannot be what God created for his beloved Son. The very fact that I see such things is proof that I do not understand God. Therefore, I also do not understand his Son. Therefore, I also do not understand his Son. What I see tells me that I do not know who I am.
Duh.
I'm determined to see the witnesses to the truth in me, rather than those which show me an illusion of myself.
Read that last line again.
I am determined to see the witnesses to the truth in me, rather than those which show me an illusion of myself.
Take a breath and read it again.
I am determined to see the witnesses to the truth in me, rather than those which show me an illusion of myself.
Good. That's better. You get it now, right?
No.
So you can say no. You can say yes this time. Yes, I get it. Only because you did. The idea that there's something to get is false, but it's really more of an ungetting, a letting go. Well, I had a whole bunch of stuff going on this morning at like 5 a.m. as an idea of the past, but went and sat out on the deck this morning, made a little video, and realized just before I made that video, realized how chit-chatty my mind was, which is rather unusual. And I was thinking, what is there going on that I'm trying not to look at? Why is my mind so noisy this morning? Because usually it's almost silent. Normally in here contains only the domestic blah blah of making breakfast or putting on clothes or whatever. The idea of storytelling and stuff. I did a little video on storytelling this morning. The idea of storytelling fell away, has fallen away, other than as perhaps being useful for the greater good. But storytelling just for a mechanism of identity, time, space, location is pointless. So I was sitting there and I did my prayer beads, which I don't do regularly. They're just sort of a now and again, but I sat there doing my prayer beads And normally I can get through the whole 108 beads without any interruption. And today it was just like, I don't know, it felt like every 10 beads, there's like some major thing going on, like blah, 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 blah. And I realized that the residue in the Course, Jesus calls it the blessed residue. The residue of my temporal association, this bodily form, is held together only by denial. It can't be held together by light, because it represents a denial of light. And even in its use by the Holy Spirit for this purpose, it's still through the reinterpretation of dark defenses that it's able to be useful up until the point where you no longer need it. And I was looking at that idea, and I thought, there's all these opportunities. Like, it takes me only 5 minutes to go around my beads usually, and there was all these opportunities showing up to be still again, with all this chit chat going on in my mind. Because like when you do your beads, you like do a mantra, you know, repeating it again and again, whatever your mantra might be, and all this stuff showing up. And I realized that I'm misinterpreting some sort of prompt, some sort of thing going on, right? My ego's taken a hold of it and trying to use it to start a conversation in here, you know, which I'm not interested in doing, because you can spend a lot of time back and forth with your own thoughts in there, and before you know it, you've been like when kids daydream, you know, they just sort of, they're over some other land building sandcastles and wondering what kids in Italy make, and for ice cream things in their ice cream shops and stuff. You know, your mind can go anywhere and do anything. And so I realized I was being tempted to come out of that peaceful place where I'm doing my mantra and everything again and again and again. And I looked at the reasons for that, and I actually couldn't find any. Right? I actually couldn't find any reasons. It's like there was nothing going on. I didn't have to be anywhere. The phone wasn't ringing. There was nothing. It was just like random chatter. And I was thinking, this is very strange, you know. And then I realized when I was doing my beads, I realized that the nature of my own residue is so thin. There's like so little left. And I often think about this, but I never really get an indication of it. But there's so little left that I don't actually know how long I've got left to be able to animate this vessel. You know, if you were to say to me a week or a year or 10 years or 20 years, I couldn't actually tell you. You know, whereas somebody that you might meet in the street would have a whole story going on about, oh, my family all live well into their 90s and I'm only 57 or whatever, and all these bodily association ideas. But it was just kind of amazing that I couldn't put my finger on any kind of association for age or longevity or anything like that. And all of these things were tempting me to not look at that idea. And so I did. I sat and looked at that idea and realized that in the idea of being the residue, the blessed residue, having already returned the Christ to eternity, that my time here is short. You know, it was kind of a bizarre thing, but I just couldn't put my finger on it. I've never had that thought before. I've had thoughts about death, as everybody does, you know, like, hope I die quietly in my sleep, and, you know, have people. I'd like to die in the company of some super sexy person that makes me feel good. All these sorts of, you know, these fantasy ideas of death and how we glorify it and like whatever. And I couldn't find one. I just couldn't find one at all. It was just like bizarre. And it's like only a couple of weeks ago, in time, this is like Tina the Pyramid, right? So you're sweeping off the levels, right? And you get to the top and you've just really made more of a mess as you go up, and then you got to come back down again, right? So this is my down. So I've gone to the top and transcended time and space. Now I'm coming back down and I'm cleaning the mess that I left in the way to get up, right? Which is what all this is. But it's at the point now where it's clean. So I look at the idea of the blocks. This is for me personally, because like your awakening keeps pace with you. I look at the idea of the blocks in the course as kind of, there's not really any block, right? There never was. But when you use the course, Jesus gives you things you can relate to so you can see the progress of your own transformation. If he simply said to you, hey, Anna, there's no such thing as a block to love's awareness. What the hell are you doing? Just be happy all the time. You wouldn't know what the hell he meant by that, because you couldn't get from where you seem to find yourself to where what he's talking about is true things, right? Which is like in that lesson that you just read. You wouldn't know how to bridge the gap there. So you need this whole mechanical kind of thing called the transformational process. And you get to look at these things called blocks and relate them to your life and things that you can understand. And if you couldn't understand them, they wouldn't be very helpful as teaching tools, right? So the idea of inner peace being the first one, it's like the desire to get rid of inner peace is the first block, or the desire to get rid of peace is the first block. The second one is the belief that the body's valuable for what it can offer, which is something that in the last few weeks, after years of pursuing the release of that block, or the release of the belief in that block, seems to have now happened, right? In a way that is irrevocable. It can't go back. And then this morning, the third one, the fear of death. It's like, man, I looked and looked and looked. I looked for some kind of indicator about the idea of death and the death of the body and the death of it. And I'm like, all of my chit chat was trying to get me not to see that that I'd overcome that, And it was kind of like a light bulb moment, which I haven't had a real light bulb moment for a long, long time, but it was kind of like a light bulb moment. It's like, wow, because you never know where you're at and you never know what anything's for, but you're always looking at stuff, in your transformation. It's like you're always looking. Where am I in this lesson? When I read this chapter, where am I in this chapter? Like Jesus is always giving me what the absolute is, but where am I in my transformation in relationship to that, right? And then when you start off with the course, you start reading it and you don't understand any of it. It's just like, holy crap, I'm never going to get this. And then after a year or so, you're like, oh yeah, I get that. Because you've been through your own rite of passage. Yeah, maybe you don't. You've been through your own rite of passage where stuff starts to make sense and you start to put it into practice. And you can see where you're at now in the chapters, right? You can see where you're at now with the concepts and the ideas and the principles. And so when I looked at that thing this morning to see where I was at with that idea of death, and I actually couldn't find, man, I sat there like hardcore. I couldn't find anything. There was no desire for or against that idea of death. And where Jesus says in the Bible simply that there is no death, that's what I found. It wasn't there in me. And a couple of weeks ago, after looking at the finality, or what appeared to be the finality of the second block about the body, I was expecting, I guess, in a certain way that things would just follow form and I'd start to naturally maybe look at the third block. But it happened so quickly. It was just like, for a second, I looked at it and then it wasn't there, or it wasn't there when I looked for it. I should put it that way. And the fear of love being the last one, it's like, well, what does that even mean? The fear of love. In this world, the closest thing that you'll ever have to an experience of understanding what the fear of love will be is, on a very basic level, is the fear of intimacy in relationships. Letting someone totally in and letting yourself be totally honest with somebody else. That fear of intimacy, it's like when you're reading that lesson this morning, Anna, that fear of intimacy, it's like in relationships, we operate on this superficial level of relationship to maintain the defense mechanisms of the ego. All we're looking for, we're not looking for a partner to confide in and be intimate with and do all of these things. Not really. We're looking for someone to fulfill an obligation that we made out of time to come in and help us deal with any technical issues with our desire to be separate, right? So it's like, well, you come and play a part for me and I'll play a part for you, and we'll pretend that we make a whole, which will then automatically deny the nature of the whole that we're already in, right? It's kind of funny. But in that relationship, when you backdrop it against the course, you get to see exactly where you are. You can't fake it, you know, you can't get away with anything. So, which is one of the things I love. You find yourself in the page and it's like Jesus says, this is what you do and blah, blah, and this is how, you know, being human is and whatever. And you're like, nah, that's not me. Maybe that's someone else, but that's not me. And then you'd be doing the course for a while and you'd be like, oh, that's me. Because other stuff that was in the way of you seeing that it was you has been removed so you can see, right? It's like the only person you're kidding is yourself. So learning to read it, learning to focus, learning to be totally with what you're reading is really important, Anna. It helps you to find yourself in the pages. It helps you. It's like when I was doing my beads this morning and I was out there and I'm like, God is but love and therefore so am I. And I'd be like, get through half a dozen and then there'd be like, so I should probably backstory a little bit. So when I do my beads, what happens is that when I do anything, when I sit and open my mind, right, which is what the repetition of doing beads is, when I sit and open my mind, there's a moment that happens that it happens automatically. I can't control it. As soon as my mind becomes still, it just automatically pops open and the light comes through and there's this kind of moment, a holy instant or something happens, right? I don't want to try and put words to it too much. But so when I do my beads, I always get that. I always get that interruption. But I was being presented with this babbling. So at the point where that was about to occur through doing the mantra, I was distracted, right? That was my cue for looking at what was going on for me. And it'll be the same for you guys exactly, right? All your distractions when you're doing your prayers and you think, all of those distractions are trying to get you to not look at what's actually about to happen for you or what is happening for you now. Okay? Which is why it's important for the mind training. It's like, all right, well, let me be extra vigilant for my mind training. Let me really hear what I need to be about here. Let me teach this so I can hear this, because there are, like my Father's house has many mansions. There are levels, there are doorways that I can go through in my mind that I'm not even aware are there, except by the fact that my ego tends to set off some kind of alarm inside whenever I get close to them, right? It's like the only way you know a black hole, a scientist can tell where a black hole is because it moves the light around it. You know, it shows up by not being there. I don't know if that makes sense, but does that make sense? Right. So I'm not a black hole scientist, but when I looked into black holes and that was presented, it's like, oh, of course, that's exactly what the ego does. It hides there, and the only way you can tell that it's there is by what light moves around it. You know, it's like it's an invisible thing. So, which is pretty groovy. But you have to be determined. You know, if you were looking for a black hole, you got to be peeping through that telescope, and you can't just be whizzing it around the sky going, no, no black hole there, no black hole there, no, don't know what they're talking about, black holes. You got to be willing to sit there and focus and wait for that shift to occur where you can see the light indicate the presence of the black hole, right? That's exactly the same action of mind in this that we're doing. We be still and we wait. And we wait and we tune into the presence of what we can't see and what we don't feel, right? The kingdom of heaven isn't a bunch of buildings on the other side of magical trapdoor in our brain. It's a whole sense of self that you'll begin to feel initially. You feel it coming on, you feel the approach of it, but you can't see it and you can't examine it, which is why as soon as you go into examination, you take yourself out of that state that's sitting in the waiting and the listening, right? So we be still and we wait. And then what you hear in waiting and what occurs in waiting, that's individual and depends upon wherever you're at and whatever you need to know. That was exactly what was happening to me this morning. I was being distracted out of a place again and again and again where I didn't question why I was being distracted. I'm like, what is going on here? You know, as soon as I questioned it, what's going on here, I realized that I was being tempted out of that place in my mind where my mind opens again and again and again. And I sat there and I'm like, all right, what am I looking at? What's nearby? What black hole am I about to stumble upon? Right? The ego doesn't distract you for no reason. It always has a reason. It's always insidious and devious, and you know, it'll use anything, any kind of story. You should check on your kids, or maybe there's a cake in the cupboard that you can go and make, or whatever, like any stupid thing, right? But it's like always, you'll notice when it gets the loudest, it's the most insistent. It's like, all right, what's going on? It's always when you're making your best effort. It's always when you're getting closer. And the closer you get to God, the more powerful that attraction to listening to the ego is going to want to be, which is why you have to be determined in your reading, I'm determined to see things differently. I'm determined to see the Christ in my brothers today. And I know it's not easy. Oh, there's Bibiana. Hey, Bibiana.
Hello, everyone.
I know it's not easy, but like Jesus told you that at the beginning, the way is steep and the path is hard, and there are a few that you find on it. It's like, that's only up to a certain point. You know, I'll give you my word on that. It's only up to a certain point where you get to the tipping point of mastery, if you like, of how it is you're applying the concepts or the principles in your thinking, and then boom, it all seems to be downhill. But until you reach that point, it's just like, oh man, when is this ever going to end? When am I going to get through this thing that I've been looking at? You know, and if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to step out of that comfort zone, you're going to be looking at it again and again and again and again, right? Sometimes the changes are physical. Sometimes you have to actually get up off your butt and do something, go somewhere, talk to people. There's this whole thing. Don't become dependent or fooled into the idea that everything's going to happen just through your own efforts. It's not. You have to allow yourself to be led. You have to listen, allow yourself to be guided. That's what inner guidance is. Okay. So Anna's going to go and stay with Tina. Spend some time there hanging out. How that's going to look and what that's going to look like, I don't know. But all you have to do is say yes. Right? Now, you're going to see a resistance to saying yes, because I'm putting you on the spot. Right? All those things are going to come up in you why you can't. Okay? All of those reasons, excuses. I've got bills to pay. I've got kids to feed. I've got blah, 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 blah. Right? Now, this is your chance to be miracle-minded. I'm going to need a freaking miracle. Right? That will bring about the mechanisms for change. Right? All miracles mean change in perception and also in the particulars of the orchestration of what you call your daily life. right? Ultimately, you get to this place where all change occurs within. You're just looking at your own thoughts and you can just change it like click, 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 click. But at the beginning like this, you're sort of like bogged down into these concepts and ideas and you're trying to work it out. You can't work it out like we just saw, right? You can't work it out. You need to have some kind of framework where you can see that the working out is happening in you. You're not going to be able to see that in your own familiar framework. You got to get out of the comfort zone, step outside of whatever you think and let something other than your own thinking direct the way. Right? That's going to be scary. And you're either going to say yes unreservedly or yes with reservation or no. But only yes unreservedly is going to bring you any fruit. With maybe some chili on top. Right? The last thing, right, hear this. The last thing anyone wants is total freedom. You just want to be free enough to express yourself as how you think that ought to look for you, right? But total freedom is completely terrifying. But you're not going to experience it until you're willing to let go. You're not going to experience it until you're willing to say yes unreservedly to God. Not to me, not to Tina, not to Course in Miracles, not to anything like that. It's like, I'm just going to say yes, and I'm going to allow, there's our Heidi. I'm just going to say yes, and I'm going to allow whatever the orchestration that yes necessitates to occur. And every time I find myself in resistance, I'm going to choose again. I'm going to make a decision. No, let go of the resistance, have faith, and take another step. Okay? Now, when you say truly yes, everything will be orchestrated. It may turn out you don't even need to go. There's nothing for you to participate in, right? Because it's not actually about going anywhere or doing anything in time and space. It's about the yes. Can you hear that? Good. It's about that yes. Heidi, you're looking amazing. Look at you. You're all radiant. And
Can I say something about that?
her radiance and brilliance.
Absolutely. I concur. in addition to that, yes, she's radiant. Yes, she's beautiful. Yes, she's gorgeous. That's our Heidi. And in addition to that, I just wanted to say something about the saying yes, if I could.
Okay. Go for it.
You told me when I first kind of met you, sort of, or when, anyway, as things started to happen, you gave me an assignment to join with Ted. And I was
right.
I was terrified. I was so afraid.
Right.
But I just said yes. And I was so scared. I was like, oh, and I messaged him. And I'm just saying this. He never messaged me back.
Right.
So I'm just saying, like, I was so terrified, but I think in just the willingness to say yes, I was given what I could take, because I didn't know if I could take like joining with him. But I said yes. He never responded back, and I just think from there, like, that didn't happen, but this happened as a result of that. Just so I'm just kind of, for me, I'm just kind of offering that up. Like, it didn't look like what I thought it was going to look like, and I was terrified of what it could look like. But I was like, let me just go and see how it turns out. So I just thought I would just add that. So
everything's a leap of faith. At some point, you have to give your total yes. There's got to be a yes, and that yes will always take you out of your comfort zone, because nothing could possibly ever be asked of you unless it was for your own good. And if it's asked of you, then it must be because you need it. And it's like, well, I need this push, or I need this prompt, or I need this whatever it is to get me dislodged from where it is I'm hiding in my mind about giving my yes to the sonship, giving my yes to God. And it's like, well, you got yes on the one hand and you got pain on the other. That's really the range of choice that you have, truth or illusion. Sitting on the fence trying to judge which one you're going to prefer, like it's kind of pointless. Maybe I can take this pain a little longer and I won't have to give my yes in that way. And maybe another way for me to say yes will show up, you know. It's like, no, that's not saying yes. That's just hedging your bets. But every time you say no, the lesson has to come around again. And then the next time it comes around again, it'll be a bit more insistent. It'll carry a bit more weight with it. And you'll be like, oh man, not this again. This is what you'll recognize it. You'll be like, this is what I said no to last time. Maybe not the form of it, but energetically. You'll be like, this feels exactly like the same situation when I said no last time. Right? So Anna, and whether you go or don't go, that's not up to me. Right? It's nothing. I'm just playing the part you've asked me to play. I'm just a messenger. I don't care what you do with the message. Right? But I can rejoice as the messenger. I can rejoice in your yes along with you, knowing that the message is always for your own greater good. You know, when you see people and they're arguing, oh, maybe you don't have that in America, but in no, you do. So in my town where I live, it's a mining town, right? They mine coal here. It's a pretty hardcore sort of environment for a soft-hearted spiritual person to live in. It's like being on the frontier if you're not a soldier or something. And I blend in. But I would, to be honest, I'd rather be somewhere that was more, you know, like daiquiris on the beach and just deck chairs and things like that. But in our town, there's a few things that add to, and you get to see it. It's like the lessons that people are learning, and keeping my finger there. You get to see what goes on, because my shop where I sit for work every day is on the main street in town. And we have a lot of homelessness, and we have a lot of drug abuse, and we have a lot of all sorts of stuff. And my windows are tinted, right, on my shop. They're partially tinted, so you can see out perfectly, but it's a bit tricky to see in. And there are people yelling at each other in the street people, and then telling each other to fuck off and all these things. And in my heart, there's no reaction, but other than the joy of the recognition that they're learning a lesson, that there's something going on for them. They're not aware of it, perhaps, but there's that whole moment of where one of them is going to have to say yes to the other or drop the defense, which is the same thing, for that conflict to end. You know? And who knows how long it may go on for. It's none of my business how long they want to argue or whatever. But, you know, it's the same thing with you, Anna. In here is a conflict going on. The presentation of the yes is offered, and you get to look at it and go, do I want the conflict to end or not? That's what you're looking at. All right. It's not about the actual saying of the yes and where you go and hang out with Tina or whoever, whatever. It's like it's always just a saying yes to God, because God's all there is. It's like, who could possibly be asking me anything, regardless of how that looked? Now, that's a big step to take. How could I be asked anything unless it was of God? Unless it was for the greater good? It would be impossible. Nothing happens that's not meant to happen. And within it, we have this framework of an idea of free will, where you actually believe you can make a choice about whether you want to accept that or reject it. But if God is everything, what is there to reject other than God? And that's the nuts and bolts. That's the really like down and hairy place where you just like, you got nowhere else to go with it. It's like, damn, that's simple spirituality. If God is everything, what am I rejecting but God? What am I saying no to but more love? A greater awareness of self, all the things that I'm telling myself that I actually hear because I want them. I want that in my life. Right? But the process of like we had before, the process of saying you want those things in your life and actually recognizing where it is that you want those things in your life can be poles apart. And I know it sounds a bit like I'm picking on you, Anna, but it's like you've been up against this same one for a while now. It's time for something to shift, right? I can only present you that as a possibility or as a potential. It's up to you to be able to recognize and go, you know what, you're right. It's like when you're a drunk, right? And your friend comes up to you and goes, man, it's time you got off the grog. You know your friend's right. You may not want to hear it. You may enjoy your groggy lifestyle, but you know somewhere your friend is right. It's like your heart always knows. You just know when you hear something that's true, you just know it. It's like, yep, this is doing me no good. I'm repeating the same cycle again and again and again. I'm feeling the same emotional load again and again and again. Something's got to shift, and it's got to be you. It's like Gandhi says, be the change that you want to see in the world. Right? Now is your time to be it. Now is your time to say yes. I'm not going to tell you to say yes, though. I'm fully aware that you'll probably want to stamp your foot and kick and scream. And what was that show, Yes Man, with Jim Carrey? Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
John Carrey. And he had such resistance to saying yes because he had his lifestyle all set up, and it was just like he was insulated against having any kind of experience of love because of what that might look like. You know, you kind of fucked it up along the way a little bit, but that's part of the learning too. That goes along with the territory. So anyway, there you go, Anna. I told you that I would give you homework. That's your homework.
All right.
Good. So next week, I'll expect to see you there next to Tina in her room. And, right. Hey, but remember, it's here and it's here. Right. The miracle does this, brings them together. What seems to be time and space and contained within potential, in your yes, it's automatically collapsed already in you because the Holy Spirit doesn't work in time. It sees that you do, but it brings about some kind of other mechanism to translate what you think about time into an eternal moment of now where all things are possible. Okay, so just keep an open mind. If you're saying yes, keep an open mind and just keep saying yes. Keep that door open to whatever's presented and however that's going to look. You guys are going to have fun. I can already see it. Hey Heidi, where you been? How's the crows and the rats and the chickens and things?
Yeah, they're all just there.
Salvation.
It's kind of true. The rats and like none of that seems like a big problem at this point. Like they're just there. Not so bad.
You're not freaking out about it anymore.
No, it's not really causing me a anxiety or anything. I mean, they still show up, but there's not like massive. It's not feeling like they're there to attack me or they're there,
Good.
you know, as my own like. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Something's changed. Something shifted.
Yeah.
Groovy. Bibiana, how you doing? You're looking quite good. It's dark in your room. We can't really see you so well.
Oh,
Or I
let me turn on the light.
be the light. Actually, it looks dark in my room. The face this way.
The light's coming at the side of you. It's kind of cool.
I know.
So you're every now and then you blur out.
Because that's the outside and this is the inside.
That's cool.
And whatever that means doesn't mean anything.
I know.
I really appreciate what you said. Everything is opportunity. You know, God
Yeah.
is everywhere, and doesn't matter how it is. And I do recognize my resistance
Good.
and a willingness to ask for help because it's all what is needed. And I'm learning a lesson. I recognize that stubbornness saying, I am the person who is not capable and guilty in that matter. And I'm reading over and over the lesson.
What's your lesson today?
I'm not following the lessons. I'm actually stuck on same lesson because it speaks to my heart to read it to myself. And
What's the lesson you're reading?
Miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one. Strength are one, and it comes from that what created me. It's not the strength of my mind saying strength looks, you can financially provide, strength looks like this, strength looks like that. And that's the lesson what I'm learning over and over. When
It actually is the strength of your mind. You're not separate.
I'm repeating the same lesson, and I recognize my resistance. That's what it is.
Yep.
And
Good.
again, it's that simple willingness. Do I want this conflict? Do I want to create this conflict? Do I insist it's not for me? It is for me. It is for me. It's tailor-made for me.
Of course it is.
And everything collapsing, everything what this mind gave a meaning, be able to travel, have freedom to travel, have time to travel, have money to travel, to have responsibility to be a mother, and all this baloney story in my life. Everything is collapsing. I can't hold on anything. Everything going to shit.
Yay.
Everything, in that story, in that anger, in that resistance.
Good.
I just want to be angry because nothing works to my fucking preferences.
You're like a slightly more advanced version of Anna.
And I just see each morning, that's how I start my day. I'm listening to lesson and over, or I'm listening to Michael Singer. And I see every interaction, I got Unity magazine. I don't know, there was one sentence, and my first word was again, fuck. Because I recognize the truth again. Every moment, I don't know how it's said, but it says every moment is opportunity to awaken to my spirit's full potential.
Yeah.
And I'm insisting, no,
You're just
I am
seeing
this
again
person.
and again where you don't want it.
Yeah, I do see it. I do see it. And
Right. Now, ready?
yeah.
Recognize what a liar you are. We're doing this course like we just went through this with Anna. Anna, this will be you in 6 months if you don't say yes. We just recognized in Anna, right? And I've recognized it in me plenty of times, where the idea of wanting salvation or wanting healing on your own terms, it's like it's constantly trying to direct the flow of things to affect what you think your own best interests are, even though you don't even know what your own best interests really are. You're in this kind of paradoxical place where you don't know, but you think you know, and you've got to make that choice to just let go of both things, both sides of the coin. It's like, I've got to give this to God. I've got to say yes, and then allow that yes to play out however it's going to look. And the fear that always gets brought up in that is, what if I lose everything? What if I lose the little I've got? Right? And it's like, well, when you got nothing left to lose, you're free. Not as far as possessions and things and whatever, but beliefs, false beliefs about yourself. It's like we're going down this rabbit hole. We're looking at the idea of who am I or what am I again and again and again in relationship to all these things that seem to show up around us to tempt us to believe that our relationships are reciprocal or should look a certain way. And they're not. We're discovering in a painful manner that they're not, and they don't look a certain way, and that we actually can't have our cake and eat it too. We're like a spoilt kid.
I'm scaring myself. You know what? I know it's just a thought, but it's like in that story, there's some kind of plan like, oh, down the line, you just have to kill yourself. And I'm like,
right.
And that's why I feel like there's nothing to hold on because nothing works. I traveled the world and I still was hungry for more traveling. It never satisfied. I wanted a kid, now I'm a mother. Now I don't like responsibility, what comes on it when I'm alone with everything. And I want to love my kid and be the best version of me. And then I told myself story how I'm failing. And
yeah,
it's a mess. It's a hot mess. and I use every moment to be right about myself. I see that. I work as a nanny with a beautiful, beautiful baby. And I see that love just flows. And I am seeing innocence. And I'm willing to recognize myself innocent too. That there are no requirements because I'm not in my head. And then I'm back to this story. And it's just so emotional, emotional. And that part of me says like, oh, you're menopausal, you fucked totally. So all of that, I don't know. It's a ride. And I know.
The storyteller.
Yeah. As you said, if it's not yes, wow, and thank you, I need to ask for help. I listen to it. That's simple like that. Am I living life reality? Or am I living my mind, the story of it?
Yeah. You get to see where it is. You're always the liar. Transformation doesn't show you the truth of yourself. Only God can show you the truth of yourself. Transformation shows you where you're in denial of it.
Yeah.
No? And it's like, that's not anything that anybody really wants to see. Why would you want to see that? But yet here we are. You know? We're the crazy ones that are embarking upon this course, looking at the places where we've denied love in my own, you know. But ready,
denied light.
Ready? Here. This is love. It looks like this. Now, don't examine it. Just stay there. It looks like this. And you'll have all these other references for experiences of love or whatever, happiness or whatever. And you'll tell yourself, well, those things are love. This isn't love. This can't be love because I don't feel the way I felt when I was feeling all those other things. But literally everything is love. In this world, it looks like this, right where you're at now. The only reason you're upset is because you don't want it to look like right where you're at now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so literally the key to moving on from where you're at right now is accepting that this is what love looks like right now. Acceptance is the key. You keep coming up against resistance, and looking at it, making stories about it and banging your hand on the desk about it and all these sorts of things and seeing how crazy you are about it rather than accepting it. Right? As soon as you accept it, everything gets restored to you. It's like, oh, I get it. This is what love looks like for me now. I need to accept that. Now, the place where I tell you that you need to accept it, how it looks, and the place where you actually accept it are poles apart. The same like Anna, okay? You'll say that you want to accept it. You'll say that you want to move on from where you're at and accept God's grace in this moment as being love, looking like exactly what it looks like. But that's not the truth. You saying that is just words. Your acceptance of it is somewhere else in your heart. It's where you bring those words and your heart together in a prayerful manner to not only examine why you don't want to accept it, but to include the miracle into that mix so that your acceptance of it in itself becomes miraculous. Because the only thing you're ever going to see is an impossible mountain that you swear you're never going to be able to move. All you're going to find in your mind is thoughts to the contrary. Because truth doesn't abide in the conscious mind. There's no love in concepts. So the place where you're looking at it conceptually and the place where you're accepting it have to collide. They have to be brought together. Right? It's like when we read these words, Anna and I had this moment, we've had it a few times now in the last few weeks, when you read these words and you're not really connecting with them. But when you're made aware that you're not really connecting with them, you can read them again and give yourself such determination that you hear where it is you're not connecting and automatically connect. Right? And then you'll have an experience, and it's always going to be either laughter or tears or something like that. There'll be some kind of emotional release because the words and the concepts and the ideas of your salvation are designed to push you into places you don't want to go. It's like a trap. You're being called into the darkness, and you stand there stamping your foot and you go, yes, Lord, I'm coming, but you're not actually moving one foot in front of the other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's no point being a master of concepts, a master of ideas, a master of theory. What's the point of that? Nothing changes. The change comes when I need to accept this situation exactly as it is, or the world exactly as it is. And here's me over here realizing how I actually don't want to accept it. Right? Those things have to be brought together. That can only happen miraculously in your willingness to say, yes, I want that to happen. I want to heal this whole resistance I have to accepting where I find my feet. Because you can't move on from any lesson. You can't move on from anything until you've accepted it. And in the acceptance, you'll actually be exposed to, and this is how you'll know if your acceptance is on par, like if it's true, you'll actually be exposed to the mechanisms that set the whole situation up in the first place. And you'll see how everyone's playing a part for you, and you'll feel compassion and love and true empathy for them in your heart, right? Including yourself. Because the love will just flow in. There'll be no gap. There'll be you here saying something, you here actually meaning something. Those two things will come together. The gap will be gone. And all that you'll experience is the love of the situation that was presented for you to have that action of mind, which is saying, yes, it's the same thing as Anna, right? Acceptance or yes. I don't know how to really, you're talking about, like when we're talking about things like this, we're talking about an action of thought, an action that's occurring in the mind between where I perceive myself to be and where I actually am. Not actually am in eternity, but actually am as in not kidding myself. All right. Every good alcoholic loves to tell you on their first meeting at AA, they love to tell their friends, oh, I'm going to AA now. After one meeting, they're a reformed alcoholic. You know, it's like, come on, get over it. It's like, you're going to be here for ages. Right? But it's the same snapshot in every situation in your life, right? You're in a situation where you're seeing something occurring and feeling this emptiness and wanting it to be fulfilled. And then here's the place where that happens that you don't want to look at. And those things have to come together, right? You have to see how much resistance you have. It's like, God damn, I've got so much resistance to self-love, so much resistance to change, so much resistance to accepting things as they are. Right? That whole idea of surrender is so foreign to the ego mind. I need to just give up. I need to let go. I need to say yes. I need to surrender to everything and accept everything as it is, and learn that I am a servant of mankind, and that in my servitude, my own best interests are also met, not as I would have them be, but as they are in my own, for my own beneficence, for my own benefit. Right? It's a selflessness. There's a selflessness required, and you can't choose to be selfless. That's not selflessness. That's guile. Right? You can't choose to be selfless. All you can do is meet the terms and conditions for allowing something in you to change so that you can begin to operate along selfless lines. And then after a while, you'll just find that just becomes kind of who you are in your beingness, and you'll live a kind of a selfless life, maybe not in the way that a saint would, or like Mother Teresa or anything like that. You're not being asked to, any of that stuff, but in a way where you can see that the flow in your own life is uninterrupted. And that flow is love and peace and happiness. That's only going to happen by extending it to others unconditionally. That's only going to happen by realizing, I don't want to do that. I want love on my own terms. I want it to look this way or that way. I think this is best for me. That's best for me. You got no idea. You don't know. You just told me that. So what's the problem? There isn't really a problem. There's just an action, a choice, a decision. I need help. I need a miracle. I need something to occur that's not of my own making, not of my own thinking. Right? And for that, it's going to take prayer. Father, heal my mind of the belief I am a body. Heal my mind of the belief I am a body. Heal my mind of the belief I am a body. Right? And you've got to find that place where that's meaningful to you, that you want that prayer to be true. There's no point it being lip service. There's no point that prayer being just because I say so. You got to find it. You got to realize it's like, man, I don't really have a choice. I surrendered to God in totality or not at all. I can't be on the fence. I can't be both hot and cold. It's either all in or all out. I'm either walking a path to God or I'm not. There's no point walking a path and only going halfway. But when you walk that path, there are going to be the obstacles. There are going to be the places that show you that, oh, now the path changes. Now it goes this way. Now the path changes. Now it goes that way. Because you have to be led back to God by your own circuitous and devious route. And that's never nice. We don't like that. We don't like looking at how devious and underhanded we've been. And we don't like looking at the trail of disaster that we've wrought, that other people have had to play parts for us in, and all these sorts of things. It's painful. But you need to do it with God. You need to do it with grace. You need to do it with the Holy Spirit within. It's like, I am the sinner. I am the saint. I am all of it. This is a part that I'm looking at that's particularly painful, perhaps, or particularly confronting or whatever. It's like, let me look at it through God's graces. Let me look at it in the light of what it actually is, as being a dream, not having affected my reality at all, but merely affecting my beliefs about what I think reality is. Right? It's like, it's crazy. It's just this whole kind of, confusion, level confusion. It's like every time there's a block, every time something shows up where you've got to have a moment of honesty, there's an opportunity to include more. There's an opportunity to go further, to expand your event horizons, and to make the vision that you're starting to have regarding yourself and the world wider and broader. So everything becomes included in it. You're free, Bibiana. You're free. You're free. Don't nod your head at me and say, yes, I know that you don't want that.
I don't want that because I have preference.
I know. I know. Now,
I want to travel.
Right, of course.
I don't want to work nonstop. Then just
Right.
pay bills, and worry about what future will bring.
Right. That's what you want. That's not what salvation is offering you. That may be included, but it's not, you know. Salvation is a step into the unknown. That's it. It's getting off the merry-go-round of reincarnation. It's getting out of the dream. It's putting an end to the whole time and space association that you have going on in your mind that brings you this pain that you're enjoying.
I'm crazy. I'm totally crazy. I have moments of peace and then I have moments of this. I'm totally messed up.
Right. Join the club. Welcome to the human race.
And I'm stubborn. I'm so stubborn in my selfishness.
Yay.
Because in reality, I'm just like, I don't give a shit. I want what I want. I'm a little kid having tantrum about life and trying to manipulate how maybe I still can get it.
Now,
and it's not working.
Choose again. Choose again. All that energy that you've got wrapped up in how you're feeling now could be used for prayer for yourself.
Thank you.
But maybe you have to go and bang your head against the wall a bit more. I don't know. No? I never know what it takes for anyone to actually hear that you don't have a choice. That's the hardest thing to hear. You don't have a choice. You're already free. You're already perfect. You're already whole. Now deal with that against everything else you've just been telling me. It doesn't matter what you want or don't want. You can't change God's will. It's like you can sit there and stamp your foot and God damn it, all you want. Doesn't change anything. You're free. Choose again. You're being called to release the Christ. You're being called to allow your inner light to shine, to go forth before you, to return to its creative reality. And you, the Bibiana that you think you are, is going to be cast aside like an old husk. It's like a caterpillar going into a cocoon. And when it comes out, it doesn't need the cocoon anymore. This is what's that? Evolution. This is evolution. We're forerunners. You and me and Tina and Heidi and Anna. We're early ones. We're late timers, early in time. Just look out your window. How many other people are doing this? How many other people are holding themselves accountable to principles that don't even correspond to things that are functional in the world? If you tried to tell people that's what you're doing, they'd say you're absolutely nuts. I think I'm going to go off to India and find myself. Good luck with that. Have fun doing all that stuff. Not many people do it. But it's like it's only this part of the process. It's only this transformational part that brings up all that grief, that brings up all that resistance and everything else. Finally, you realize how much resistance you've got. You give yourself some kind of a tumor, and then you realize, well, that's not helping. And you choose again. Right? But you have to realize that you don't actually have a choice, Bibiana. You've already crossed the finish line somewhere in your consciousness. Somewhere in your mind, you've heard that God is a fact. You've heard that there is no world. It's the beginning of the end. There's no point bemoaning the end. You may as well just stand back and watch it all crumble. Let it all fall apart and let something else come out of those ashes. I can't offer this to you in any way that you're ever going to appreciate it. I'm only ever going to tell you that you'll resist it all the way, but some by fire and some by flood, whatever it takes. It's like Tina. Tina has moments of being incredibly joyous and happy that she's finally found the path, finally found the way, and she's on it. And then in the moment where the shit hits the fan, she's like Cobra Lady. She has venom in her eyes and wants to kill me. But she's still glad that she's found the path. She doesn't like it. Nobody likes taking medicine. But it's like, take the medicine, you'll get better. Practice forgiveness, you'll heal. Forgiveness, acceptance, tolerance, patience, empathy, giving and receiving, all of these things. They've got to be integrated into your soul on such a deep level that they're no longer functionally useful to you anymore because you're just about that. They're not even things that you have to study or read or can be concerned of. They're just your natural way of being. I was talking to my friend Wolf this morning at like 6 o'clock. He's a Native American powwow guy. What do they call that? Indian man. And he was telling me that he was standing with this person. He works in rehabilitation circles with Native American people, and they do a lot of healing stuff, right? He's been through his own process and whatever. They do a lot of healing stuff, and because of the circles that he works in, it's predominantly to do with feeling dispossessed, about their land rights and their treatment by white people and all these sorts of things, right? And the governing agencies, and how their whole way of life has been deprived of them because they've been forced into this other thing. And there's this whole thing going on that he's continually reframing in his own mind and offering that as a teaching through the course to all these other Indian people that look at him like he's crazy, right? They don't get that he's offering salvation. But he said to me, he was standing next to this guy after one of these meetings, and this guy was just radiating peace, like deep, deep, deep peace. And he said he couldn't even look at the guy. He didn't know who he was. He wasn't in the meeting. He was just there. He just turned up, and he was just radiating it. And Wolf, who was this, he's a capable counselor. Like he can handle his own in a confrontation with denial and whatever. He's there, you know. But he said he felt completely intimidated by this person, right? Which is a perfect reflection of his Christhood. Because that's how you're going to feel. The closer you get, you're going to feel intimidated and jostled and cajoled and like you can't go there. And your ego is going to make up excuses why you can't go there. Hide those excuses from you and tell you it's because you want something this, you want something that. The ego can only ever get. It can't actually ever give. The ego's motto is get, and don't give. Because the only thing to give is love. And it's like when you start to give your love away, you'll get the result of it. You ready? Like that, which feels a whole lot better than trying to get and keep it all inside, which doesn't give you anything because there's no kind of true reflection in it for you anywhere. You just walk around the world going, oh, fuck this world, I hate it, and blah, blah, blah. And you end up loving to hate it. Because your mind is only love. Therefore, you love to hate the world. You love to hate yourself. And you see that you're insane, but you won't make a decision to change. So you have to enter into some kind of therapy where someone will tell you, yes, you're insane. We're all insane here, like the Mad Hatter. We're all crazy here, right? You're down the rabbit hole with Alice in Wonderland. She's trying to work out what the hell's going on. Drink this potion, eat this biscuit, whatever. Do this workbook, follow these lessons, right? That's exactly what this is. And you're like Alice going, well, this shouldn't be like that. And that's not how that ought to be. And that mean old Queen of Hearts, you know, that's you. I'm Alice, right? Love shouldn't look like that mean old Queen of Hearts. It's like, yes, it does. In this world that represents love's opposite, that's what everything looks like. Mean old Queen of Hearts. So it comes down to the bottom line. Don't judge it. Accept it as it is. Don't judge it. Accept it as it is. This world's not your home. You're not from here. You're in a process of realigning to a state of mind where you're not from here. Make sense out of everything that you think is going on here. It's like, oh, I'm not from here. That's why it's like this. Oh, I'm not from here. That's why it's like that. Jesus has come so you can get your ass out of here. And he says, where I am going, you will also follow, but just not yet, because you've got too much resistance. You have to follow, and you have to be willing to become selfless by the act of your own free will. You have to learn to choose again. And you're going to come up against that place where I don't want to choose again. I want to be angry. I want to be pissed. I don't want to choose again. It's like you can't change anything by fighting against it. All you can do is something else. Now, what that something else is, if you're a student of salvation, is not up to you. You got to let go and let God. Ready? Yeah. This moment. This is the moment we have. This moment. Yeah. You're always looking at the idea of, do I want God's peace? It's like lesson 200. Above all else, I want the peace of God. To say these words is nothing, but to mean them is everything. Did I get that right, Tina, or did I get it wrong? That's not a biblical quote. You're not allowed to call.
Then I won't say anything. I'll leave it alone.
It's probably wrong, but you get the idea. That's what he says. I'll just like, go on. I know you want to say.
No, it's my lesson. I'm going to look it up, but I think.
Oh, you're on 200?
No, I'm 185. No.
Oh.
That's my birth date lesson. So that's why I know what that one is, I think.
Oh, so it's like 15 days to your birthday.
No. Lesson 185. In the calendar year, my birthday falls on lesson 185. The date of my birthday is lesson 185.
What day is it today? So today's your birthday?
No, love. Today, lesson we're at 290 something. 219 today.
Oh, that's
calendar
cool.
day. So my birthday.
Oh, I think I've got to catch up. I think my lessons only go to 220 something.
Yeah, you do. I've been looking at it. Take your time. I got lots of work to do. Anyway, sorry.
I wanted to finish it this year. I thought I'll just get through all those lessons and make a little video.
Bally.
I think we're on 231 today.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right.
There you go. See, somebody knows. It's always the young people that know these things. They're like switched on. They're hip. They're with it. They're groovy. Us old farts forget everything. So, all right. So what are we going to do today? We've already had a bit of a round robin. Anyone else? Heidi, have you got any drama?
Yeah, I have lots of trauma.
Really?
Yeah.
You're keeping it quiet.
Well, it's all just at the same time, it's I guess it's things, but I don't know, like in my life right now, like, you know, there was a very unfortunate loss of a child in my family.
Yeah.
And so that's where I've been. It's like all of a sudden, like everything that, was kind of in my importance. Sorry, there's a truck back there. Everything's just gone out of the window as far as like I'm just doing, I love what we've been talking about, because the idea of just saying yes has been on my mind. Like that was like all day today, that was on my mind. Like, cause I have things I want to, like, I go to my certain meetings, I go to my certain, like I have my routine, and things have changed a lot in the last couple of weeks because, there's been family, there's been things happening. Sometimes I don't know how to be there in the chaos of it all and the emotions of it all. But I feel like I have found myself just sitting, and like a lot of our meetings have, like, things that we've talked about have come back to me, and just, like listening and joining is more important than anything. And when I don't know what to do nothing. But I've definitely found myself kind of like sometimes stressed, like I'm not getting to my regular groups that I get to. I'm not getting to, instead I'm like sitting in the backyard, with my dad, just sitting.
Good.
And
That sounds like the kind of group I would like to be in.
yeah. I guess I am in this very active place of like really, because I don't know there's just nothing I can do. And
Right.
and so everything that I've ever like worried about before, like the rats, anything, all of it just like none of, like all of that just went to nothing,
Yeah.
when this little baby left, when this happened, it's just like,
Yeah.
there's something huge, but there's no levels, right? And so I guess I just feel myself in really constant I feel myself folding in, like that scroll, we talk about the scroll of Helen
Yep.
shook the scroll. And whenever I feel myself upset, it's always what I wasn't to my little nephew, or what I wanted to happen in his life, and just bringing it back to right now, I don't know. It's hard because I'm watching, like, it's when it does feel hard. It's like what my brother and sister-in-law hurting, my mom and my dad hurting, you know. This was an only child. So there's just a huge thing happening right now. It's like there's this little vortex.
You don't know how you feel about it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I feel, I don't know, like, sometimes I feel sad, but I feel like I know, like I know, like there's a spirit out there that's going, this isn't
No.
where we are.
Nah, stop.
But where's my, yeah.
Answer the question. You're telling me you don't know how you feel about it. All right. Now, I'm asking you very simply, Heidi, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about it? Because there's no such thing as neutral thoughts. You can't possibly ever not know how you feel about it. You can choose not to look at how you feel about it. You can choose not to experience how you feel about it. But you would only make that choice because you are feeling something about it. And this whole platform that we're engaged in together is about healing, is about love. You don't have to do this right now if it makes you uncomfortable, but you know what you have to do. I can see it in you already. That's not your brother and your sister-in-law's pain and the parents' pain. It's yours. The relationship you're in is with God. It's the relationship with your Father. The only way you can see that is through the gift of that baby's life. And it's a hard thing to look at. It's a hard thing to take a loved one and use their life and use their experience as something that seems to be for your own benefit to help you find salvation, because that seems to be so uncaring. But literally, it is the most caring thing you could ever do. Don't waste pain, Heidi. Don't let it go. Sit in it and feel it.
It's so numb. I do. I get really, really numb. I go into it.
Good. Do it now then. You ready? Just sit there and be with it. You don't have to make a decision about it one way or the other or anything. Just try to feel the raw emotionality of it. Not because of this or because of that. Just sit in the pure feeling and let it take you where it needs to go. If that's into a numb place, fine, go there totally. If it's into an angry place, go there totally. If it's into a place of guilt, go there totally. Just do it. Let it happen. There's a falling apart and a rearrangement. There's a whole cosmic level thing that's going on. It's played out in the stories of families and people and relationships and children and grieving and loss and all of these sorts of things. But that's just what we see on the stage. That's just the play that we're looking at. Underneath that is something going on in you that's like has a greater relevance, a greater importance. And you can't waste it. You're too loved to waste it. many, many years ago, I read a book called The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. It was the original edit, not the one that's out now. The one that's out now is a little, I don't know, he's changed it somehow. It's lost some of the original passion or something. But, you know, the part where all the people gather to see the prophet go away on the boat, and they're all asking, but prophet, tell us about death, and tell us about money, and tell us about, like, they've had all that time to ask him these questions, and they wait until the moment that he's about to leave, you know. And the idea of the loss of a loved one is that that person, that being, has come from eternity to play a part for you, so important in your play, in your pantomime, your drama. It's like, hey, Heidi, I'll come and I'll be the little child that passes away at a very early age, and it is going to kick you in the emotional guts when that happens, and it'll get you to question life on such an intense level that you'll never recover from it. And you'll be like, okay, that's good, because I need to remember God at some point. You play that part, I'll play the part of Heidi, and blah, blah, blah. I'll play the part of Dave. Just to remind you, that's what, you know. My cousin had cystic fibrosis her whole life. She passed away at the age of 13, having spent about 90% of her life in hospital being treated day in, day out. At the time she passed, all of us were praying that she would pass. There was no prognosis for her that was good. She actually lived longer than expected. At that time, I didn't have the course. This is just a little sort of an aside story, but I realized that there was something in her passing. I felt guilty because I couldn't go to hospital to visit her. I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to see my cousin hooked up to the tubes and the different things, pumping out her lungs from phlegm, and, you know, like, it was horrific. All the other kids, and they weren't much younger than me at that stage. I was like 17 or 18. She would have been 9 or 10 when she was put into the hospital near me. And it would bring up intense feelings of guilt. And back then I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to use my guilt, use my pain. So when she passed, something left in me. It's the only way I can talk about it. Something went away and didn't come back. And it was a childhood something. It was a joy something. About a year later, these people came to town that were putting on these seminars, and they were called the Insight Seminars. And there was a free introductory Insight seminar. There was 5 stages. The first stage was 3 days and it was free. And then it got rather quite expensive after that. But Dad, I'm thinking, wanted to do something father and sonish with me. And he'd always had an interest in Buddhism and whatever. And somehow he'd come into contact with information about this seminar. So we went along, and they used to do all these kind of practical workshop things. And maybe we'll do some with you guys like later, but if I can remember them. Have you ever seen that one where there'll be a group of people, one in the middle, and you try to lift them up with your fingers and you can't do it because they're heavy? And then, like, so they did all that stuff, and then you can lift you cross your fingers, and then you can lift the person up as if they're as light as a feather. It's like all mind stuff. And they did a whole series of things like that. And one of them was called the Sanctuary, which was a place that you developed as a consciously imagined safe place in your own mind, a haven, where in times of turmoil you could retreat into there and do your inner work, right? Which at that time in my life, inner work was a new term. I didn't have any understanding what that really meant. But I followed along with the guided meditation of building a safe place. And my safe place was like a teepee, an Indian teepee. And every angle of it was not sewn together. Like the wind could blow in and out of it like curtains everywhere. But I felt safe in there. It felt nice to me. It was a nice energy. And part of the exercise was to be able to invite somebody in that had caused you pain, that had brought pain to your life or whatever. And I was only 17, you know, I literally couldn't really think of anybody. And then I had a whole out of body vision of my cousin, right? She just appeared in my thoughts like a lucid dream. I don't even know how to explain it. She was wearing blue overalls and a little pink shirt. She was a little girl, how I remember her, of about the age of 12, 13 years old. And she was just smiling, and she couldn't come in. She couldn't come into my teepee, into my space. And I kind of guessed maybe because she'd already passed over. I don't know what was going on. But something happened to me in my body in that room. There was like 500 people in the room, everybody going through this experience, and everybody had a partner not doing the experience, not doing it like a safe person, you know. Something happened to me, and I found myself flat on my back in the room with two of the coordinators leaning over me, my dad leaning over me, and two other people that were in our little group leaning, like everybody's looking at me wondering what the hell happened. I didn't know what happened. I was sitting down in a meditative thing, and then apparently I had some kind of fit, right, at the point where Rachel showed up. And my auntie, Rachel's mother, she was actually there as well doing the workshop. Like dad asked her to come along. And I've never asked my dad if he'd had any kind of inclination about doing a family healing or anything. That never occurred to me. Now it does. But anyway, she was there. And all I could say to her was, I've just seen Rachel. I've just seen Rachel, you know, and we burst into tears together, the two of us, and we embraced, like in that whole thing, the whole the whole exercise stopped. Like everybody in the big hall room, everybody had to stop doing their thing, like the whole thing, just for whatever was going on. And I told her I've just seen Rachel, and the facilitators didn't know what to do. They didn't know who Rachel was. And I think my dad explained to one of the women. And my auntie told me that she had been trying to invite Rachel into her safe place, in her sanctuary place, you know, but couldn't do it. And all I got in that whole thing was to tell her that she's okay, she's fine, she's in another place, and she's happy. That was it. She showed up in my thing, and she was just so joyous and bright and healthy. There was no disease in her body, no nothing. You know, and I knew that she wasn't dead. I knew she hadn't gone anywhere. And it was just so bizarre. Like it contradicts everything that we see with our eyes and all our senses. And I didn't know how I felt about it then. I mean, now I still feel a little emotional when I sort of think about it and how beautiful it all is, but it's just, you know, I didn't know how to process my pain then. I didn't know how to do anything with it. So I shoved it down and pretended I was okay about it. And it wasn't until then that I realized I actually wasn't okay about it. That how I felt was raw, and how I felt was really guilty, and how I felt was inadequate as her cousin for not going to visit her for her whole life in hospital. I stayed away her whole life. I went to visit her like twice. You know, that brought up a lot of stuff. And it's like everyone's playing a part for us. Everyone, no matter how young, no matter how old. Man, that experience drop kicked me into a whole other reality. Like the gloves were off. It was like, pow, boom. You know, I had no choice but to feel it. It's like exactly like you now. You are feeling it, Heidi. You're feeling it inside. Just connect the dots. Let yourself have it. You don't have to know how to heal from your pain. You just have to not adjust to it and let the Holy Spirit do it. Draw that circle. Sit there. It's like, I don't want to feel nothing. I don't want to feel this dead zone of nothing when I go there. That nothing is like a blanket that you put in front of how you're really feeling, so you don't have to feel. Because the pain's too much. But it's not the pain of loss, it's the pain of belief in loss. It's the pain of, like, the grief and everything are just terms that we use, but it's the situation. It's like everything is symbolic. This is my relationship with my father. I want to feel it. I want to feel that relationship with my father. I don't want to feel nothing there. These triggers, these catalysts, these roles that people play for me again and again and again to push me into a place of feeling something. It's like, how do we ever do that? It's just so much. It's too much. How do I take that on board? It's like you need a miracle. Like literally you need a miracle. They say that time heals all wounds, but it doesn't. That's a lie. You just get better at avoiding the wounds. You get better at pushing them away rather than seeing how open and how fresh they actually are. All my beliefs are killing me. All my false beliefs are killing me. I think I'm separate from God. I think that death is real. All of these things. We can say that we don't believe in that because we're practicing a spiritual thing now and we have other learnings. But that doesn't mean that's where I'm actually at with it. It's like cause and effect. I say that I want the peace of God. That doesn't mean that I want the peace of God. It just means that that's what I'm saying at the time. It means that I'm teaching myself and I'm saying it, so hopefully I can hear myself say it. It's like we had with Anna at the very beginning of this session. She's reading something and not hearing herself read it. I'm saying something, but I'm not hearing myself actually say it. Not at the deepest level that is going to benefit me. Just here on the surface where I don't have to feel. Let yourself have it, Heidi. Let yourself have it. Like fully, just let it happen. You should come and hang out with Dean as a catalyst. Dean's lost all of his family in 18 months. Every single member of his family's passed away within an 18-month period. It's like 5 people. Dean feels everything. He feels everything. Somebody steps on an ant on the footpath, he feels it. It doesn't matter what it is. His heart has been blown open so wide. He's like, he's literally the Christ incarnate walking around. You should see the guy. He doesn't even know. He doesn't even realize how beautiful he is. You got to go down there. You got to go into that place. You got to go to that journey into fear, into the pain, into the dark, into those things we don't want to look at. That's where the healing is. That's where truth is. That's where I'm authentic, where I'm real, where I have integrity. That's where what I say and what I think and what I do all come together. There's no doubt, there's no loss. It's just loving in there. Not love as I think it should be, love as it actually is. This is a tough gig. Tina, read us your lesson for the day, please. I need a breath.
You want me to read the lesson of the day or lesson 185?
Anything.
All right, let's do 185.
I'm just here with Heidi hanging out for a second. You ready, Heidi? Viviana, Anna,
Oh, it's a long one. All right, here we go.
listen.
I want the peace of God.
Speak up a bit.
I want the peace of God. To say these words is nothing. But to mean these words is everything. If you could but mean them for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place or time. Heaven would be completely given back to full awareness, memory of God entirely restored. The resurrection of all creation fully recognized. No one can mean these words and not be healed. He cannot play with dreams, nor think he is himself a dream. He cannot make a hell and think it real. He wants the peace of God, and it is given him. For that is all he wants, and that is all he will receive. Many have said these words, but few indeed have meant them. You have but to look upon the world you see around you to be sure how very few they are. The world would be completely changed should any two agree these words express the only thing they want. Two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God. For minds can only join in truth. In dreams, no two can share the same intent. To each, the hero of the dream is different. The outcome wanted not the same for both. Loser and gainer merely shift about in changing patterns as the ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on a different aspect or another form. Yet compromise alone a dream can bring. Sometimes it takes the form of union, but only the form. The meaning must escape the dream, for compromising is the goal of dreaming. Ooh. Ooh. Minds cannot unite in dreams, they merely bargain. And what bargain can give them the peace of God? Illusions come to take his place. And what he means is lost to sleeping minds intent on compromise, each to his gain and to another's loss. To mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams. For no one means these words who wants illusions, and who therefore seeks the means which bring illusions. He has looked on them and found them wanting. Now he seeks to go beyond them, recognizing that another dream would offer nothing more than all the others. Dreams are one to him, and he has learned their only difference is one of form. For one will bring the same despair and misery as do the rest. The mind, which means that all at once is peace, must join with other minds, for that is how peace is obtained. And when the wish for peace is genuine, the means for finding it is given in a form each mind that seeks for it in honesty can understand. Whatever form the lesson takes is planned for him in such a way that he cannot mistake it if his asking is sincere. But if he asks without sincerity, there is no form in which the lesson will meet with acceptance and be truly learned. Ooh. Let us today devote our practicing to recognizing that we really mean the words we say. We want the peace of God. This is no idle wish. These words do not request another dream be given us. They do not ask for compromise nor try to make another bargain in the hope that there may yet be one that can succeed where all the rest have failed. Whew. To mean these words acknowledges illusions are in vain, requesting the eternal in the place of shifting dreams which seem to change in what they offer, but are one in nothingness. Today, devote your practice periods to careful searching of your mind to find the dreams you cherish still. What do you ask for in your heart? Forget the words you use in making your requests. Consider but what you believe will comfort you and bring you happiness. But be you not dismayed by lingering illusions, for their form is not what matters now. Let not some dreams be more acceptable, reserving shame and secrecy for others. They are one. And being one question should be asked of all of them. Oh, oh, is this what I would have in place of heaven and the peace of God? This is the choice you make. Be not deceived that it is otherwise. No compromise is possible in this. You choose God's peace, or you have asked for dreams. And dreams will come as you requested them. Yet will God's peace come just as certainly and to remain with you forever. It will not be gone with every twist and turning of the road to reappear unrecognized in forms which shift and change with every step you take. You want the peace of God, and so do all who seem to seek for dreams. For them as well as for yourself, you ask but this, when you make this request with deep sincerity, for thus you reach to what they really want and join your own intent with what they seek above all things, perhaps unknown to them, but sure to you. You have been weak at times, uncertain in your purpose, and unsure of what you wanted, where to look for it, and where to turn for help in the attempt. Help has been given you. And would you not avail yourself of it by sharing it? No one who truly seeks the peace of God can fail to find it, for he merely asks that he deceive himself no longer by denying to himself what is God's will. Who can remain unsatisfied, who asks for what he has already? Who could be unanswered, who requests an answer, which is his to give? The peace of God is yours. For you was peace created, given you by its creator, and established as his own eternal gift. How can you fail when you but ask for what he wills for you? And how could your request be limited to you alone? No gift of God can be unshared. It is this attribute that sets the gifts of God apart from every dream that ever seemed to take the place of truth. No one can lose, and everyone must gain whenever any gift of God has been requested and received by anyone. God gives but to unite. To take away is meaningless to him. And when it is as meaningless to you, you can be sure you share one will with him and he with you. And you will also know you share one will with all your brothers whose intent is yours. It is this one intent we seek today, uniting our desires with the need of every heart, the call of every mind, the hope that lies beyond despair, the love attack would have, the brotherhood that hate has sought to sever, but which still remains as God created it. With help like this beside us, can we fail today as we request the peace of God be given us?
Thank you. That's actually pretty much sums up everything we've been talking about this meeting. It's the whole thing, isn't it? It's really the whole thing. Oh, it's always perfect. It's always perfect. Let's do a circle. Sit up nice and straight. Sit comfortably, but don't recline. Just sit up straight. Take a few deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the top of the head. Try to feel. Try to feel. Feel how it is that you're feeling. Feel in your body, feel in your organs, feel in your hair, feel anything. Feel the wind on your face maybe, or the light on your eyelids. Feel something. And then bring yourself inside to your emotional world. And be willing to look at how you're really feeling about things. Be willing to have it shown to you. Even if it's painful. Even if it's somewhere you don't want to go and something you don't want to look at. You can still choose to do it with God. With the Holy Spirit. Look upon this with me. I'm too scared to look at it by myself. I don't feel I'm strong enough, whatever. There's nothing wrong and nothing weak in admitting weakness. There's nothing wrong with being authentic about where you find yourself. I can't deal with this. I can't do it. I do need help. And feel how that feels to be vulnerable and to need the help. Let yourself go there. You got nothing to lose. Let yourself feel it. I'm a child of God in a strange world where everything's completely the opposite of my reality. Things being born and things dying. People saying things and doing things I just don't understand. Why? There's no answer to the why. There's only an experience. We enter into our circle to free ourselves, to liberate ourselves from our judgments and our grievances, and to be still. Here I am, Lord. Take all this from me. I'm willing to look upon it. I'm willing to give it to you in the acceptance that I can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about it. I can't change anything, but I can be willing to change the way I see it. I can be willing to change my mind about it. Breathe. Heidi, take a deep breath. Anna, deep breath. That's it. A few of those in and out. Nice deep ones, Tina. And out. Feel that breath. Feel your heart in this world. Feel your heart, Anna, in this world. Feel it. How does it feel? Does it feel like a doormat? Does it feel crushed? Does your heart feel like there's nothing left? Like the emptiness? Go into whatever it feels like. Or does your heart feel full of gratitude? Does your heart feel the joy and the passion of having finally been offered salvation and saying yes? Finally, after thousands and millions of years in the dream. Breathe and feel. Get in touch with your feelings. Don't examine them, just let yourself feel them. As if you're wearing a blindfold and you're reaching out to familiar objects, but you can't see them, you can't judge them. You try to just sort of sense what they are by how they feel. Your emotions are like that. They represent things and they have stories regarding why you have them. Forget about what they represent. Forget about the story. Just feel the rawness. Let yourself have it. Let yourself go to that place. If it's pain or if it's joy, either way, go there. Deeper than you're aware of. It's like, Anna, when you're reading those lessons and you're making this effort now to feel something, you have to instruct yourself. It's okay to feel something. I want to feel something. I want my words to be meaningful and not just superficial. I want my experience of life to be meaningful and not just superficial. To say these words is nothing, but to mean them is everything. Feel, whether you mean them or don't mean them, feel it. The Holy Spirit will make the correction. God does the work. The light does the work. You just have to be willing to let it happen. Here I am, Lord. It seems I don't want the peace of God. Heal my mind. I'm obviously insane. Heal my mind. Breathe. Feel. Push, Heidi, push. You have to be really strict with yourself. You have to tell yourself, I want to feel this. I want to feel it. You've instructed yourself not to feel it. You've pushed it away because that's the decision you've made. To feel nothing, Anna, to feel nothing. Now it's time to be open to all of the human experience, the pains and the joys, the good and the bad, the right and the wrong. Finally, we've come to a place where we realize we're not going to judge it anymore. We're not going to split our mind into two camps and push away what we don't like and just keep what we do. We're going to let all of the ideas we have about everything out of their boxes. We're going to bring them into this one giant alphabet soup of feeling. We're going to tip everything out and let the Holy Spirit deal with it. All our pains and our joys. We're going to give it all to him. Here I am, Lord. Here I am. You're going to feel it, Heidi. Feel, reach inside. Reach. What does God mean to you? Anna, what does God mean to you? My Father. I want my Father. I want to remember God. Not as a concept, not as a lesson in a book. I want to remember this emptiness inside, this feeling, this yearning. Everything's pushing me every day a little closer, closer, closer. And every day I resist a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. The closer I get. But the more resistance I have only verifies the closer that I'm getting. I need to surrender. I need to let go. I need to fall into my experience. I need to fall into my emotions. I need to fall into my feelings and let them swallow me up uncontrollably. There's no way out. Let it happen. Let it happen. Tell yourself, Anna, let it happen for God's sake. Let me feel this to the core of my being so I can heal, so I can raise the vibration of peace and love on earth and stand as a witness. That's what everything is for. Everyone is playing their part for me to do that. Everyone is playing their part perfectly for me, to bring me to a point in my own mind, in my own awareness of myself, where I have no way out but to love. Unconditionally love. Because in that place, finally, you see that there's no point to anything other than that. Breathe. And that, of course, includes yourself. Breathe, Bibiana, breathe. Deep breaths in, out. Anna, deep breath in, out. I love you guys so much. Just so much. We're family. We're one. We are loved together. We come from a place of togetherness into this horrific dream of separation, to be reunited again in the recognition of the falsity of our beliefs. Finally, it's joyous. Welcome home. Finally, I'm grateful I've found this place. Finally, I'm grateful to have arrived. I've just got to leave all my baggage at the door. I've got to lay down all my burdens, lay down all my fears and my pain and my suffering. Here, Father, take this. I have no use for it. Take that. I have no use for it. Take this pain, this frustration, this anxiety, this suffering, this meaninglessness. Take it from me. I have no use for it anymore. I choose to see myself as loved and loving, and that is all. I choose to see myself as loved and loving, and that is all. Good. Good. Yes. Good. Ask for help. Good, Bibiana. Go there. Let it happen. Breathe. Here I am, Lord. Use that pain for prayer. Here I am, Lord. Open your heart. Open your heart. Let it rip. Let it tear wide open. Father, I need a miracle. I need help. I can't do this. Breathe. Push, Heidi. Push. Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. That's nothing. Use all of that pain. Father, I want to remember you. I want the peace of God. I want to remember eternity. I want to remember the truth of my brothers. I want to know the meaning of life. I'm tired of this world, this stupid world, day in, day out. I'm done with it. I refuse to participate. Breathe. Breathe. Stay in that circle and feel. Come on, Anna, push. Anna of the superficial. Saint Superficious Anahus. Let's push. Anna, push. Do it. Let's go, Heidi. Deeper. Good. Feel. Feel it. Feel the boundaries, Anna, of your comfort zone. Feel the limitations of your own structures of thinking. You can't think your way out of this. You got to do something. Listen, learn, and do. You got to get up and walk out your front door. Breathe. There is a doing. There is a yes. And there is a wow, and there is a thank you. We are learning these tools, and we are learning how to apply them. Despite our deepest, darkest resistance, in spite of all our arguments to the contrary. It's like, fuck this, I'm not going to let myself off the hook. I'm not going to give myself a back door. I'm done with this. I want something else. I want a miracle. I need help. You got to feel it in your heart. To say the words is nothing. Father, here I am. Good. Go on, Heidi, give it another push. Deeper. Look at how you feel. The wound is raw. The pain is fresh. Let yourself go there. There's not a nothingness, there's an everythingness. It's too much to take. You don't even know what to do with it. Go there to the depth that you can. Go there to the place that you can let yourself go to with it, and then push and push a bit more. Feel it, let it in, and then give it to the Holy Spirit. When you can't take it anymore, give it to the Holy Spirit. Here, Lord, take this pain, my heart. Feel, offer it up. Breathe. Here I am, Lord. You know where it is now. You know where your pain is. You know where it's hiding. When you're willing to go there fully, you will. It's a journey into fear, into darkness. The way is hard and steep, and there are few found on it. You need merely look around you to see how few they are. Breathe. Cool. Next week, I think we're going to push comfort zones. I mean, we did a bit of that today. Going into feelings and things, but like push it on the physical level. Any questions? Heidi, you have a question? Really? You look better. Sense of purpose restored. Good. Good. Anna, you look terrible.
Terrible.
I can tell. Just remember, yes. Just let it be miraculous, okay? You're going to have to. You've got no choice. Let it be miraculous. You're learning to become miracle-minded. That's either something you're saying yes to, or it's just stuff you talk about and not do. Got it? This is the tough love. This is where it's like up against it. There's no maybe yes. There's only yes or no. One keeps you in the same circle you're in now. The other one changes things. The only question I'm going to have for you is, do you believe in miracles? Tina's been looking for an excuse to kick her brother out anyway.
Get out of my head.
I know, right? I know.
Like, what am I going to do with him? No.
He'll have to work it out. He's a big boy. All right. I love you guys.
Hey, do you want to do the I love you too. Do you want to do the YouTube real quick?
What are we gonna actually do with the YouTube?
No. Well, I mean, you said that we would do it today. Just I need to
I
try to
know,
log
but I
in.
don't really.
I mean, I don't care.
I think Heidi should do it.
I don't care who does it. I mean, you want Heidi
I
to
think
clean
Heidi
it?
could.
What?
No,
What?
about like a little introductory thing.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
No, oh, that's not what
No,
you're talking about.
no. And I was gonna say Heidi can do it. That's cool, but I like what you did today. And I was thinking anyway. But what I'm talking about is for me to be able to get into the YouTube to clean the YouTube up. I need to log in and.
Oh yeah, that.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right. Well, you can talk to Heidi about the intro for the thing later. And you and me listening that we'll do that now. The rest of you guys can go and get to bed because I see you're all yawning and whatever. Peace.
I'll stop recording. Not necessary.
Viviana, don't forget to ask for help.
Bye,
In
Viviana.
Love you
here,
guys.
not in
Bye.
here. In here. I'll be back. I'll be 2 seconds.
Okay. Bye. Stop recording.